Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, where we will explore one of the most astonishing stories in numismatic history, the 2018 D1 cent, a coin that has captivated collectors and investors alike, not only because of its intrinsic metallic value, which is minimal, but because of the extraordinary circumstances surrounding its production, its monumental errors, and the resulting astronomical price tag of $16 million. Making it arguably the most expensive penny in the world, and in this exploration, we are going to dive deeply into every detail of why this seemingly ordinary coin has become a legend, and what makes it so irresistibly valuable to collectors who understand the intricate dance between rarity, error, and human curiosity. So to begin, imagine for a moment a coin so ordinary that it seems like any other. A 1-cent piece minted in 2018 at the Denver Mint, yet within its design and striking process, it contains anomalies so significant that they have transformed it into a treasure of unimaginable monetary and historical worth. The 2018 D penny is not just rare in number but rare in story, beginning with the production process at the United States Mint, where billions of coins are produced each year with precise machinery and strict quality control standards. But even in such a controlled environment, mistakes can happen, and in the case of this particular 1-cent piece, multiple errors coalesced in a way that is almost unprecedented. The first glaring mistake is the double die obverse, which is a situation where the coin's design, usually engraved onto a die that strikes thousands of coins, is inadvertently doubled during the die creation process. This results in a coin that shows duplicated images or inscriptions, often slightly misaligned, and in the case of the 2018 D1 cent, the doubling is incredibly pronounced, with the lettering of Liberty, the date 2018, and the D mint mark showing a clear, unmistakable second impression, creating a surreal effect that makes the coin appear almost three-dimensional in some lighting conditions. This is not just a small anomaly but a striking error that immediately identifies the coin as something far beyond the ordinary circulation penny, and this kind of double die is extremely rare because the mint employs modern technology to prevent it, making the 2018 D an outlier in the digital age. In addition to the double die, there is also a notable misalignment of the striking, where the coin was not centered correctly when it was struck by the die, leading to an off-center effect that exacerbates the visual impact of the doubled images. These kinds of misalignments are highly sought after by collectors because they provide a tangible connection to the imperfections of the minting process, showing that even in the most technologically advanced production environments, human or mechanical errors can leave an indelible mark on history. But the surprises do not end there. The 2018 D penny also exhibits what is called a die crack, which occurs when the metal die used to strike the coin develops a fissure, and as coins continue to be struck with the same die, the crack becomes impressed onto each coin, and in the case of this coin, the crack intersects critical design elements, adding another layer of uniqueness and rarity. Combined with the double die and off-center strike, the die crack contributes to an error trifecta that makes the 2018 D1 cent a perfect storm of collectible mistakes. And while at first glance it might seem counterintuitive that mistakes could increase value, in the world of numismatics, errors are a form of accidental artistry, and the more dramatic or visually interesting the error, the higher the collector's appeal. But beyond the physical errors, the coin's story and the market forces around it have fueled its meteoric valuation. Collectors and investors are drawn not only to the coin itself but to the narrative of rarity and chance, because out of billions of pennies minted in 2018, only a handful, perhaps even just one confirmed example, exhibit this combination of errors, creating a scarcity that is almost impossible to replicate. Scarcity, of course, is one of the most fundamental drivers of value in any collectible market, and when scarcity combines with visual uniqueness and historical intrigue, the result can be exponential increases in market valuation, which is why we see the 2018 D1 cent listed with a staggering $16 million price tag, a figure that might seem surreal for a coin whose face value is 1 cent, yet it underscores a profound truth in the collectible world. Value is not intrinsic but perceived, driven by rarity, desirability, and the compelling story behind the object. The coin also presents an interesting case study in the psychology of collectors, as it challenges assumptions about what makes a coin valuable, showing that perfection is not the only path to worth, and in fact, it is the imperfections, the unplanned deviations from the norm, that create the highest levels of desirability. and this is reflected in auction houses, private sales, and collector forums where the 2018 D penny has become almost mythical, with enthusiasts discussing its characteristics, debating authenticity, and projecting potential future value in a way that elevates the coin to legendary status. Furthermore, the coin's value is reinforced by its uniqueness in the modern minting era, where technological advances and stringent quality controls have dramatically reduced the frequency of such errors, meaning that future pennies are unlikely to replicate the exact combination of double die, off-center strike, and die crack, making the 2018 D not just a rare coin, but potentially a singular artifact. And from an investment perspective, the 2018 D 1 cent represents an extraordinary example of a high-value asset. In the numismatic market, a piece that is simultaneously a historical document, a work of unintentional art, and a speculative investment, collectors and investors alike can point to its provenance, its documented errors, and its place in modern minting history as justification for its astronomical valuation. And beyond the financial aspects, the coin invites contemplation about the nature of human error, the beauty of imperfection, and the ways in which rarity and mistake converge to create objects that capture the imagination and demand attention. The double die, off-center strike, and die crack each contribute individually to the coin's appeal, but it is their combination in a single, well-preserved specimen that transforms a mundane penny into a treasure worth millions, and this interplay of chance and circumstance is what makes the 2018 D penny a headline-grabbing artifact. And as we explore its potential, collectors also speculate on the possible scenarios for other errors that might exist in the same minting batch, raising questions about how many other coins may be hidden in circulation, unrecognized, or misattributed. This speculation fuels the collector community, encouraging a culture of exploration, research, and intense attention to detail, as enthusiasts examine coins under magnification, compare die markers, and consult historical mint records to trace the origins of these errors. The 2018 D penny becomes not just an object of monetary interest, but a puzzle, a challenge, and a story waiting to be told, with each visible error serving as a clue to the coin's unique journey from mint to collection. And the coin's impact is further magnified when considering the broader context of numismatics, where the value of coins is determined by a combination of rarity, condition, historical significance, and error. And in this case, the 2018 D penny hits every single criterion: rarity through its uniqueness, condition through careful preservation, historical significance as a modern coin demonstrating that errors still occur in the contemporary minting process, and error through its striking visual anomalies, all coalescing into a singular piece that has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. The coin also highlights the paradoxical nature of value, showing that while billions of pennies are produced each year, and most are worth only their face value, occasionally a single coin defies expectations and rules, commanding prices more associated with rare art or legendary artifacts. And this duality, the commonness of its type and the extraordinariness of its errors, is part of what makes the 2018 D penny so compelling, not just as a collectible, but as a cultural phenomenon, drawing attention from mainstream media, numismatic experts, and private collectors who see it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And the discussion around its errors also sheds light on the minting process itself, revealing that even in a highly automated, technologically advanced environment, human oversight and mechanical variability can produce outcomes that are both rare and fascinating. The coin serves as a reminder that perfection in production is always probabilistic, and that sometimes, the most valuable artifacts emerge not from meticulous planning, but from accidents, anomalies, and imperfections. And for investors, collectors, and historians alike, this makes the 2018 D penny not just a coin but a symbol of unpredictability, a testament to the unexpected ways in which value can be created. And as we consider the astronomical $16 million valuation, it becomes clear that this price is not merely a function of metal content or face value, but a reflection of the story, rarity, and human fascination with error. Next, 1999 1 cent. Today on this fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, a world where history, artistry, human error, and chance converge to create objects of immense value, intrigue, and fascination. And today we are going to explore one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, the story of the 1999 1 cent. A seemingly ordinary penny minted in the United States that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and historians alike, not because of its face value, which is a mere 1 cent, but because of a remarkable series of errors and mistakes that have transformed this humble piece of currency into a numismatic legend, commanding a staggering valuation of $13 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever recorded in the history of coin collecting. And to understand why this coin has reached such extraordinary heights of value, we need to first examine the circumstances of its production at the United States Mint, which in 1999 was operating with a combination of precise machinery, automated processes, and human oversight designed to produce billions of coins with near-perfect uniformity. Yet even in such a highly controlled environment, errors could and did occur, and in the case of this 1999 1 cent, the errors that slipped through the rigorous quality controls are so dramatic that they have elevated the coin to legendary status. The first and most prominent error that distinguishes this coin is the double die obverse, a phenomenon that occurs when the coin die, which is normally engraved and prepared to strike identical images onto thousands or millions of coins, becomes accidentally doubled, causing a replication of design elements such as the date, mint mark, or inscriptions, slightly misaligned, resulting in a visual effect that is striking, unusual, and immediately recognizable to collectors and experts. On the 1999 1 cent, the doubling is exceptionally pronounced, affecting the date 1999, the word Liberty, and other design elements, creating a three-dimensional appearance that seems almost surreal under magnification. And this double die is not merely a minor curiosity but a primary driver of the coin's value, as double die pennies are among the most sought-after errors in numismatics, particularly when the doubling is dramatic, rare, and visually striking. And the rarity of such errors in the late 1990s, a period when modern technology and quality control had greatly reduced the occurrence of dramatic minting mistakes, makes this coin even more extraordinary. But the story of the 1999 1 cent does not stop with the double die, as the coin also exhibits an off-center strike, another highly desirable type of minting error, which occurs when the planchet, or blank coin, is not properly aligned with the striking die, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted, sometimes revealing the raw metal edge of the planchet. And on the 1999 1 cent, the off-center strike interacts with the double die to create an effect that is both visually arresting and incredibly rare. Collectors often describe off-center strikes as accidental art because each misaligned strike produces a composition that is unique and cannot be replicated, meaning that every coin with this error is essentially one of a kind. And this uniqueness contributes enormously to the coin's collectible and financial value. In addition to the double die and off-center strike, the 1999 1 cent also shows evidence of die cracks, which occur when the metal die used to strike coins develops fissures over time, and these fissures impress onto the surface of coins struck with that die, resulting in unique raised lines or irregularities on the coin's surface. And on this particular penny, the die crack intersects key design elements, adding yet another layer of rarity and a tangible marker that experts use to authenticate and classify the coin. The combination of these three errors, the double die, off-center strike, and die crack, creates a coin that is virtually unparalleled in modern minting, where technology and quality assurance have made such occurrences exceedingly rare. And it is precisely this convergence of errors that transforms an otherwise ordinary 1 cent piece into a treasure of extraordinary historical and financial significance. While at first glance it may seem counterintuitive that mistakes could make a coin worth millions, the world of numismatics operates on principles that go far beyond face value or metal content, with scarcity, historical context, visual appeal, and the story behind the coin all playing crucial roles in determining its market value. And in the case of the 1999 1 cent, scarcity is perhaps the most fundamental factor, as only a handful of coins are believed to exist with this exact combination of errors, and possibly only one specimen is preserved in exceptional condition, which drives collectors and investors to pay astronomical sums in order to secure a piece of history that is essentially irreplaceable. In addition to scarcity, the psychological allure of the coin plays a critical role, as humans have a deep fascination with anomalies, mistakes, and things that defy expectations. And when a mistake produces an object that is visually striking, historically documented, and verifiably rare, its perceived value can soar to levels that seem almost unimaginable. and the 1999 1 cent is a perfect example of this phenomenon, with its dramatic double die and off-center strike creating a visual impression that is as compelling as it is rare, and the die crack further enhances the coin's uniqueness, creating patterns on the surface that are impossible to replicate and offering a tangible record of the mechanical processes and stresses that occurred during minting. Collectors often describe such coins as a blend of history, science, and art, reflecting the multifaceted appeal that drives valuations into the millions. Beyond these physical characteristics, the provenance of the coin, its documented history of ownership, authentication, and grading, also significantly contributes to its value. Coins that are verified by professional grading services and have clear records of ownership, especially when they have appeared in notable auctions or private collections, inspire confidence in buyers and allow them to justify the extraordinary price, and the 1999 1 cent has been thoroughly examined, graded, and catalogued, ensuring that collectors know they are acquiring an authentic and historically significant piece. The coin's combination of errors also highlights the inherent unpredictability of the minting process, demonstrating that even in an era of sophisticated machinery, human oversight and mechanical variability can produce outcomes that are both rare and aesthetically remarkable, and this element of unpredictability fuels fascination and demand, as collectors and investors are drawn to the idea that each coin represents a singular moment in time, a unique intersection of circumstances that will never occur again in exactly the same way. The market for such error coins is fueled not only by their physical attributes but by the story, rarity, and desirability that they embody. And the 1999 1 cent represents a perfect confluence of these factors, creating a coin whose value is not simply monetary but cultural, historical, and psychological. And it is this combination that allows it to command an extraordinary $13 million price tag, demonstrating the remarkable principle in collectibles that value is often determined by perception, rarity, and narrative rather than intrinsic material worth. The coin's dramatic double die is particularly notable because double die errors have historically produced some of the most famous and valuable pennies, including the 1955 and 1969 double die cents, which have fetched record prices at auction, and the 1999 1 cent continues this legacy by showing that even in the modern minting era, remarkable errors can occur, creating coins of immense financial and historical significance. The off-center strike similarly contributes to the coin's rarity, as misaligned strikes result from a precise set of conditions involving planchet feeding, die alignment, and striking force, conditions that are essentially impossible to reproduce intentionally, and since each off-center strike is unique, the coin becomes a one-of-a-kind artifact, further amplifying its desirability among collectors and investors. The die crack adds yet another layer of intrigue, as each crack develops differently depending on stress, wear, and imperfections in the die, producing patterns that are impossible to replicate. And thus the coin becomes both a scientific artifact revealing information about the minting process and an aesthetic object where irregular lines interact with the design to create visual drama. The 1999 1 cent also provides a compelling case study in the broader principles of numismatic markets, illustrating how uniqueness, condition, provenance, visual impact, and narrative combine to create objects whose value far exceeds their material composition. And in this sense, the coin is more than currency. It is a historical document, a work of unintentional art, a collectible, and a financial phenomenon. The study and appreciation of such coins also encourage deeper understanding of minting processes, quality control measures, and the historical context in which coins are produced, inspiring collectors and enthusiasts to examine circulation pennies, uncirculated coins, and even coins held in banks to uncover potential hidden treasures. Speculation about other possible error coins from the same period fuels research, discussion. Next, 1996 1 cent coin. Today on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins, a universe where history, art, and the sheer unpredictability of human and mechanical error converge to create objects of immense value, fascination, and intrigue. And today we are going to dive deeply into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, the story of the 1996 1 cent. A seemingly ordinary penny minted at the Denver Mint that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and historians alike, not because of its face value, which is a mere 1 cent, but because of a remarkable combination of errors and mistakes that have elevated this coin to an astronomical valuation of $12 million, making it one of the most expensive and talked about pennies in history. And to truly understand why this coin is worth such an unimaginable sum, we must first immerse ourselves in the production environment in which it was created, the United States Mint, which in 1996 was operating with a combination of precision machinery and human oversight designed to produce billions of coins with near-perfect uniformity. Yet even in such a highly controlled environment, errors can occur, and in the case of the 1996 penny, the errors that slipped through the rigorous quality controls were so extraordinary that they transformed an otherwise common piece of currency into a numismatic legend. The first major anomaly that distinguishes this coin is the double die obverse, a phenomenon that occurs when the design on the coin die, which is normally transferred through a meticulous process to ensure exact replication, becomes accidentally doubled, creating the effect of duplicated images, letters, or numbers that are slightly misaligned. And on the 1996 penny, this doubling is dramatic and unmistakable, particularly on the date 1996, the D mint mark, and the word liberty, resulting in a coin that appears almost three-dimensional, with certain elements of the design seemingly layered on top of one another. And this effect is not merely a minor curiosity but a primary driver of the coin's value, as doubled dies are among the most sought-after errors in the numismatic world, especially when the doubling is as prominent as it is on this specimen. And what makes this coin even more extraordinary is that it does not stop with the doubled die. There are additional errors that compound its rarity and desirability, including a significant off-center strike, which occurs when the coin blank, or planchet, is not perfectly aligned with the striking die, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing from the surface and sometimes revealing the raw metal edge. And in the case of the 1996 penny, the off-center strike interacts with the double die to create a visual effect that is both dramatic and extremely rare. Collectors often refer to coins with off-center strikes as accidental art because the misalignment produces patterns and compositions that are unique to each individual piece. And since no two off-center strikes are exactly alike, every specimen is essentially one of a kind, enhancing its appeal and market value tremendously. But the coin's story of error does not end there. This particular penny also exhibits a die crack, a fissure that develops in the metal die used to strike coins, which then impresses onto the surface of every coin struck with that die. And on the 1996 penny, the die crack intersects critical design elements, adding another layer of uniqueness and a visual marker that can be used to identify the coin definitively. This trifecta of errors, a doubled die, an off-center strike, and a die crack, creates a combination that is almost unheard of in modern minting, where technological advances and quality control standards typically prevent such dramatic anomalies from entering circulation. And it is precisely this combination that propels the 1996 1 cent to its extraordinary status, showing that even in the contemporary era of highly mechanized minting, the unpredictable interplay of human oversight and mechanical variability can produce objects of breathtaking rarity and beauty. The concept of a coin being worth millions may seem counterintuitive at first, especially when considering that its face value is only 1 cent, yet in numismatics, value is not determined solely by metallic content or face denomination, but by scarcity, desirability, historical significance, and the visual impact of errors. And the 1996 penny exemplifies this principle perfectly. Scarcity is a particularly critical factor here, as it is believed that only a very small number of coins from this minting batch exhibit this exact combination of errors, and perhaps only 1 or 2 specimens exist that are preserved in exceptional condition, which drives collectors and investors into a frenzy, willing to pay sums that seem almost unimaginable to secure a piece of history that cannot be replicated. In addition to scarcity, the psychological allure of the coin plays a major role in its market value. Human fascination with mistakes and anomalies is powerful, and when a mistake produces something visually striking and historically documented, the perceived value skyrockets. And in this context, the 1996 penny is more than a coin. It is a story, a puzzle, and a symbol of the unpredictable nature of production, highlighting that perfection is not the only path to worth. And in fact, Imperfection can create treasures that transcend conventional understanding of value. The double die on this coin is particularly noteworthy because double die errors are historically significant, with examples like the 1955 double die cent fetching record prices at auctions due to their rarity and visual impact, and the 1996 D penny continues this legacy, showing that even in the modern era, when minting technology is precise and error prevention is sophisticated, extraordinary mistakes can still occur, and when they do, they generate excitement and value that reaches astonishing heights. The off-center strike adds another layer of intrigue and appeal, as collectors recognize that such errors are the result of a precise set of circumstances involving planchet feeding, die alignment, and striking force, and since these conditions are almost impossible to reproduce intentionally, each off-center coin is unique, and when combined with other errors, it becomes a singular artifact with its own identity and provenance. And speaking of provenance, the history of ownership, authentication, and auction record of the 1996 D penny also contributes to its enormous value. Coins with well-documented origins, verified by professional grading services, and with provenance in major collections or auctions, attract higher prices because buyers have confidence in their authenticity and rarity, and in this case, the 1996 D1 cent has been carefully examined, graded, and catalogued, ensuring that collectors can invest in it with the assurance that they are acquiring a genuine piece of numismatic history. The die crack present on the coin further amplifies its uniqueness, as each crack develops differently depending on the stress, wear, and imperfections in the die, producing patterns that are impossible to replicate precisely, and in this way, the coin becomes both a scientific artifact, revealing information about the minting process, and an aesthetic object, where the irregular lines and fissures interact with light and design to create a striking visual impression. Collectors and investors often describe such coins as a combination of history, art, and science, reflecting the multifaceted appeal that drives market valuations into the millions, and the $12 million valuation is not arbitrary, but rather a reflection of a complex interplay of scarcity, condition, provenance, historical significance, and the visual drama created by the errors themselves. It is also a testament to the fact that in the world of rare coins, value is largely perceptual, determined by the willingness of collectors and investors to pay extraordinary sums for objects that are irreplaceable and unique, and the 1996 D penny exemplifies this principle in a way that few modern coins can, as it represents a perfect storm of factors that elevate a humble 1-cent piece into the stratosphere of numismatic desirability. Beyond the monetary aspects, the coin invites us to reflect on the nature of chance, human oversight, and mechanical unpredictability, showing that even in a highly controlled, technologically advanced environment, rare and beautiful anomalies can emerge, and these anomalies capture our imagination, drawing attention not only from numismatic experts but also from casual collectors, investors, and the broader public, who are fascinated by the idea that a tiny piece of metal, almost indistinguishable from billions of others, can hold such extraordinary value. The coin also stimulates discussion about the minting process itself, raising awareness of how dies are created, how planchets are struck, and how quality control measures are implemented, and by examining the errors present on the 1996 D penny, enthusiasts gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity of coin production and the rare moments when imperfections slip through to create a collector's treasure, and these discussions often extend to speculation about other potential error coins from the same period, with collectors examining circulation pennies, uncirculated coins, and even coins stored in banks to see if other examples exist, a practice that fuels the numismatic community, encourages research, and contributes to the ongoing fascination and mystique surrounding this coin. Furthermore, last 1994 1 cent. Today we're exploring how a seemingly ordinary 1994 1-cent coin could skyrocket in value to an unbelievable $10 million, a jaw-dropping sum made possible by a bizarre mixture of mistakes, minting anomalies, production oversights, and the endlessly fascinating universe of numismatic rarity. And as we unravel this tale, we'll walk through every possibility, rumor, documented flaw, and hypothetical scenario that contributes to such a massive price tag, showing how a coin You could once find in your pocket change might transform into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, starting with the allure that surrounds error coins in general and why collectors place colossal value on imperfections that the average person would never notice, because when we talk about a 1994 1-cent coin worth $10 million, we aren't talking about a simple penny with a small scratch but rather a coin theoretically touched by a perfect storm of minting mishaps, metallurgical oddities, striking anomalies, planchet misfeeds, doubling issues, off-metal strikes, rim defects, die misalignments, transitional mistakes, and a range of technical accidents that together can elevate a coin from ordinary currency to legendary status. And to appreciate this fully, we need to imagine the frenetic environment of a mint facility in 1994, a year when billions of pennies were produced, meaning that even the slightest deviation, the smallest foreign object, the tiniest lapse in quality control, or the rarest mechanical glitch could create a micro-moment resulting in a coin unlike anything else produced that year. And for collectors who chase perfection in rarity, these strange combinations of flaws are worth more than gold, sometimes literally more than gold by weight and by total value. So let's delve into the types of errors that could hypothetically generate such enormous value for a 1994 penny, beginning with the possibility of a planchet error so unusual it renders the coin a total anomaly, such as the coin being struck on a bronze planchet leftover from years prior, something already known to make certain transitional cents from the early 1980s extraordinarily valuable. And if such a leftover planchet somehow remained hidden or stuck in mint machinery through the early 90s before finally being fed into a press in 1994, the resulting coin would technically be a rogue strike, a time-traveling planchet, and that alone could generate immense interest among experts. But if we amplify that scenario by imagining the planchet not only being bronze but also slightly overweight or underweight due to its age, oxidation, or mixing of an unintended alloy contaminant like nickel or zinc in unusual concentrations, then the error becomes exponentially rarer, because alloy errors are already one of the hardest mistakes to authenticate and replicate. And when a coin exhibits microscopic metallurgical fingerprints that are practically impossible to duplicate, collectors go into a frenzy for that kind of uniqueness. But even that is only the beginning, since another major factor that could contribute to the $10 million valuation is the possibility of an extraordinary die error, such as a dramatic double die obverse or reverse, where the design appears double due to misalignment during hubbing. And while double dies are already famous, think of the iconic 1955 double die cent. Imagine a 1994 penny exhibiting doubling so extreme, so crisp, and so visually stunning that it becomes instantly identifiable even to an untrained eye. And imagine this doubling affecting not just one part of the design but multiple elements simultaneously, like the date, the lettering, the Lincoln portrait, and even tiny details like the bow tie or the ear, creating a spectacular layered effect that makes the coin look like a glitch in reality. And if such doubling were paired with a rotated die error, where the reverse is misaligned at a dramatic angle in relation to the obverse, the rarity compounds again, and collectors deeply value coins that combine multiple die errors in a single specimen because mint conditions rarely allow those combinations to survive without detection or destruction, making surviving pieces nearly mythical. But still, we can go further by considering the role of striking pressure mistakes, because if the 1994 penny in question were struck with too little pressure, too much pressure, uneven pressure, or even multiple impacts due to die bounce or machine hesitation, the result could be a coin with ghost images, partial designs, smeared lettering, or unusual relief depth, all features that draw intense collector interest. But what if in this hypothetical scenario the coin was struck with what numismatists call a multi-strike error, where it is hit more than once in different orientations, creating a kaleidoscope of overlapping design elements? And if this multi-strike occurred on an off-metal planchet or alongside doubling, suddenly the penny becomes a spectacular monstrosity of minting chaos, the kind of coin that makes experts debate for hours and write papers about how such an accident could even be possible. And in the world of numismatics, the story behind a coin matters as much as the coin itself, which leads us to another critical point: provenance. Because if this particular 1994 penny had a documented, traceable history linking it to a mint employee's discovery, or perhaps a collector who stumbled upon it in circulation, or even a sealed mint bag opened decades later revealing this impossible error coin resting quietly among ordinary cents, the narrative alone would elevate its prestige, and prestige translates into value, especially at high-end auctions where wealthy collectors compete not only for the object itself but for the right to own the story, the bragging rights, the conversation piece that no one else on earth possesses, and if bidding wars erupt, prices can skyrocket well beyond what anyone could logically predict, and that's exactly how a $10 million price becomes conceivable, especially if major numismatic institutions verify the piece, assign it a unique grade, and declare it the single finest or only known example of its kind, because exclusivity is the beating heart of astronomical coin valuations, and when you add the psychological appeal, the thrill of rarity, the excitement of a once-in-century discovery, the desire to own something truly unmatched, you create the perfect conditions for mind-blowing auction results. But even beyond planchet, die, and striking errors, there are other possibilities that could enhance the value of such a unique 1994 penny, such as the coin being part of an experimental run never meant for public release, perhaps using test metals or prototype dies. And if even one such coin accidentally escaped into circulation, it would be considered highly illegal to release yet priceless to collectors, and while the mint tries to prevent such leaks, history has shown that accidental releases have occurred, creating some of the most valuable collectible coins ever known. And just imagine if the 1994 penny not only belonged to this category but also showed signs of manual intervention, such as polishing marks from a mint worker attempting to salvage a flawed die or tool scratches indicating an attempt to correct an error. And if those attempts backfired, making the coin even more unusual, the resulting combination of human and mechanical mistakes would generate overwhelming fascination. But perhaps one of the most intriguing hypothetical scenarios involves die clash errors, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring parts of each design directly onto the opposing die, and coins struck afterwards display ghostly mirror image impressions of the opposite side. And if a 1994 penny showed an intense, dramatic die clash combining Lincoln's portrait with parts of the memorial building or with lettering imprints pressed into unexpected areas, that alone would create substantial value, and pairing such a clash with doubling, off-center striking, or off-metal composition would turn the coin into an unprecedented Frankenstein masterpiece of minting anomalies. And it's this layering of errors, mistake upon mistake, anomaly upon anomaly, that fuels the speculation about how a coin could reach $10 million, because rarity in numismatics isn't just about one error but about the improbability of multiple errors coexisting in one surviving piece, and the more unique the combination, the more collectors salivate over the opportunity to own what amounts to a minting miracle. But to reach the $10 million mark, the coin would also need to be preserved in exceptional condition, meaning that despite all its errors it somehow avoided the usual scratches, wear, corrosion, and circulation damage that most pennies suffer. And for a coin with such dramatic mistakes to remain in near mint or gem condition would defy the odds, making it even more astonishing, because typically error coins get discarded, worn down, or ignored by those who don't recognize their value. But if this particular 1994 penny stayed hidden in a drawer, collection, or mint bag for decades, protected from the environment, then its pristine state would further justify its astronomical valuation, and in the collector market condition multiplies value. So a unique error coin in high grade could easily outperform coins with more historical importance but worse condition.